So today I want to talk about the idea that increasing escalation will not lead to nuclear war. It cannot lead to nuclear war. And this isn't pie in the sky. This is a thought through thesis. Okay. And I'll try to lay my case out. I'm going to start with this though. 2 days ago, Vlad Vexler said this about the increasing incursions into Russian soil. And I think he's right about that, even though that seemed to be the thing that would trigger it or cause the West to back off or whatever. Let's hear Vlad for just a moment.
But that is that the war will increasingly move onto Russian soil in 2023. The way this is going to happen is going to be deepened and broadened. Anything Ukraine can throw at Russia, it will. The limitations are going to be Ukrainian capacity, right? There are only these sort of feeble drones available to get far inside Russia, and limits the West might put on what it's comfortable for Ukraine to do.
So with that, we are seeing more and more of these. We saw the attack in Belgrade last week, and Psycho Mimus is talking about exactly that today.
So on the 22nd of May, Belgrade was invaded by the Freedom for Russia Legion. In the aftermath, we saw a number of cross-border artillery strikes being carried out. Now, Belgrade has been attacked again, this time near a town called Shebekino. We don't have too much information yet, but damage has been caused. This video here shows a police headquarters which has been set on fire. And this video here shows a Russian MLRS system.
Okay, so how do you escalate? So the Russians keep thinking that they're big and bad because they have nuclear weapons, but nuclear weapons are a difference in kind, not a difference in degree. You can't really escalate with nuclear weapons except really going into a different category, and they can't go into that category here.
Reportedly engaging targets in the region. Shebekino is here. This town has been shelled quite a bit in the past few days, and today it's reported Freedom for Russia Legion forces entered the town and battles are ongoing. We don't have information yet onto the number of Legion forces attacking the town, if they've made progress or that sort of thing. Russia has claimed that the attack failed, but Russia claims a lot of things, 99% of which aren't true.
They claim a lot of things, and when they claim and when they cry wolf again and again and again and again, you start to not believe them after a while.
Updates. At the moment we don't know if it's Shebekino town that's been invaded, or if the fighting is solely around the border checkpoint. Here's its location, so it's northeast of Kharkiv and in the Belgrade region. These attacks aren't likely to occupy territory, but rather to force Russia to transfer units to protect Belgrade and the border from Incursions.
And I think that's exactly the point, because the Russians will have to put troops all around this border in order to keep some kind of control over their own territory, and that'll thin out the troops that would otherwise be in defensive positions. Okay. Well, let's look at another one. Here's what we saw yesterday in reporting from Ukraine.
Today, a lot of news once again comes from the Russian Federation. The day started with a successful drone strike on the Russian oil refinery plant in the Krasnodar region. This is one of the biggest oil refinery plants in Russia that processes more than 6 million metric tons of oil every year. Russian sources reported that the drone happened to hit precisely the oil distillation facility, which is the most important facility in the entire plant. The explosion caused a massive and intense fire that the firefighters struggled to put out the whole night. Simultaneously, the second swarm of drones attacked another oil refinery plant slightly to the west. Russian sources reported that one Ukrainian drone managed to pass through the air defense, but failed to detonate due to malfunction. Fortunately, Ukrainians conducted another strike 3 days ago, in which one drone successfully damaged one of the oil distillation facilities. There are already more than 10 strikes.
So it appears that the Russians are being hit in multiple places within their own territory, And it's starting to look like they're going to be back on their hind feet. It's starting to look like the opening phases of the counteroffensive. In fact, Georgie from Ukraine Matters already posted this. I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. I'm betting $2,000 of my own money that big, loud part of counteroffensive will begin within 10 days. You will choose what will happen with that if I am wrong. So, he believes it's already about to happen if it hasn't started already. So what does Putin have to say about this? He certainly gets a say.
From the Kremlin, a pointed message to the West. Don't push Russia. President Putin summoned his military chiefs and gave them an order.
Top officials of leading NATO countries are making aggressive statements about our country. Therefore, I'm ordering the Minister of Defense and the Chief of the General Staff to put the strategic nuclear forces on special alert.
Would Putin really use them? He practiced a week ago, overseeing exercises of Russia's strategic deterrence forces. Typically unsubtle hints to America and NATO not to stand in his way over Ukraine. So if you use the words attack, invasion, or war,
we can say only special operation.
Yevgenia Albats edits an online magazine. Like other independent Russian media, the authorities have banned it from calling this a war. What is the Kremlin trying to do to the truth now in Russia?
What they always do. Listen, they always, turn truth into lies. They lie. They just lie.
Censorship at home, war abroad.
So Putin is looking at nuclear saber-rattling, but he's been nuclear saber-rattling. There's a trick here. This was February 27th, 2022. He's been nuclear saber-rattling since the beginning. That's the point. So when I look at this, I just think, okay, where is this going to go? Here is a recent article. This is Nuclear Weapons for Everyone Who Joins Belarus and Russia. Putin ally promises. So this is Lukashenko saying, hey, if you join us, Russia, Belarus, and whoever wants to join with us. So this was May 29th, 2023. So Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko, close ally of Russian President Vladimir Putin, promised nuclear weapons to anyone that joined Russia and Belarus. I can't think of a worse way to go about conducting this, but it's not because they're trying to use it. They're just trying to push people off. And I'll give you an example of how that works in just a moment. Putin has periodically hinted at nuclear escalation since the February 22 invasion of Ukraine, as you just saw. It's very simple. You have to join the union between Belarus and Russia, and that's it. There will be nuclear weapons for everyone, Lukashenko said. Okay, imagine how this could spin out of control. But he knows that. He knows that he's playing on these fears. But I'll tell you, a short step to World War III is if Russia and Belarus give nuclear weapons to Syria and Iran. It'll be something that Israel can't tolerate, that NATO can't tolerate, that I don't even know that the Chinese want to see something like that. Okay, so that's what he said just a couple of days ago. Then we see this in Pravda after the drone strike in Moscow. This is on the 31st. Russia gets a legal right to strike nuclear blow on Ukraine. They're not going to do it, but they have a legal right, says some Russian expert. After the drone attacks on Moscow and the Moscow region, Russia has obtained a full legal right to deliver a strategic or tactical nuclear blow on Ukraine. Because of the drones that did a little damage to a building after they were electronically knocked down or shot down with missiles. This right is enshrined in the foundations of Russian state policy in Russia's nuclear doctrine. They're not under that grave of a threat that this would be proportional. And if they use less than proportional means, they'll have a whole different problem set. The article goes on, many missed out on a very important point. The media reported about an attempted drone attack on a target in the village of Vlaskaya. The military expert said, the central command post of ground-based strategic nuclear forces and headquarters of Russian strategic missile forces are located in Vlaskaya. In other words, Russia has a full legal right for the total destruction of Ukraine in accordance with its legal doctrine, the expert said. I'm going to tell you a secret. Russia has a right and an ability to strike a nuclear blow on anyone, at any time, simply because Russia is a nuclear power, the intelligence specialist Grigory Ripper told Pravda. Okay, that's not true. It's insane. And, well, let's keep going. According to the expert, there are no objective military reasons for Russia to resort to tactical nuclear weapons in Ukraine. There's no single concentration of troops. The command bunkers can be destroyed with the help of ballistic weapons. The only reason for which Russia could strike a nuclear blow is to amaze and startle the whole world. Believe me, when there is a real threat and a necessity, Vladimir Putin will press the button. That's why they want to take him out in the West. Okay, so this is the kind of thing that's fed to not just the Russian population, but to the broader world, because articles like this get copied and translated and put into Indian and Arab and African newspapers all around the world. It's terrible writing, but I mean, and they're not going to do it. And here's why they're not going to do it: because a nuclear weapon is only of limited value or limited utility. Imagine that you're in a crowded restaurant or bar, and you get into a altercation, and now you're in this altercation, you have to fight with your fists. You don't have anything. Maybe you can grab a steak knife or something, but you really don't have that much to be able to fight with. So you're fighting off these guys, and now you know that you have a hand grenade. Okay? If you show them the hand grenade, they might back off, and that's what you want them to do. But you can't actually deploy the hand grenade, because where are you going to go? I mean, you're going to get killed with it. It's going to backfire in such a significant way, and that's kind of the way that the nuclear weapons are. Sure, they're a powerful weapon. Sure, they can destroy enemies, but it's going to destroy you in the same time. Ukraine's right on the border of Russia. Do they really want that nuclear radiation flowing across the border? Do they really want the United States and NATO to, and I'm sure that the United States and NATO have been telling through back channels, look, you do something like this, very, very bad things will happen. If you want a Navy at all, don't do this. We will sink everything. I've seen reports that they would conventionally sink their entire Black Sea fleet or other consequences, right? Do you really want that? So you got to think about it like this. Yes, Russia, you have a vote. But then the counterparty to the game that you're playing also gets to choose their next move. And it won't go well for you if you choose to use a nuclear weapon. Okay, so I don't think Russia's going to use a nuclear weapon for these reasons. I think that they will continue to saber rattle and try to escalate as they have done since the beginning. But I wouldn't be too terribly alarmed about it. Now, who's terribly alarmed? Those that are listening most or being repeaters of Russian propaganda. So the Doug McGregors, the Judge Napolitano, the Scott Ritters, those kind of people, and Redacted, and the Duran, and so on and so forth. They talk about this all the time. So I wouldn't lose any sleep over it. Thank you for listening. Thank you for caring. Thank you for the likes, the subscribes, the coffees, the shares. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate you. And thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.